Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's your host, Kaylee here, and you're tuning in to episode 186. And today we are going to be diving deep into the mental roadblocks that might be stalling your growth and success. Essentially, the excuses that are holding you back, right? Before you say, Kaylee, not me, I don't make any excuses, just tune in and listen, and you might surprise yourself. I think we do this so often subconsciously. Quick, before we dive in, I want to give you a quick reminder about confidence to scale. This is going to be our very last session of CTS forever. Forever in this format. So I've been sort of just planting seeds for you over the past couple of weeks, and I want you to know that I'm serious about this. This is you at a place where you are growing and scaling a successful aesthetic practice. You have probably grown maybe by accident. Suddenly you find yourself at a place where all of this success has come to you without a whole lot of time and planning and strategy around the way you want to grow and how you want to build your team and what the future holds for you. You may be at a point where you are looking to transition out of that primary provider role in your business into the CEO role. Really put that business leader hat on and build the infrastructure, the business and the team so that your company can be self-led and support you. This is the place to jump into. You want to be in this program. This is 6 weeks of some of our most intense, most thought-provoking work that we do and we basically really recommend that anybody who's looking to scale up their business in aesthetics and wellness, go through this curriculum, get certified on our business growth philosophy, build a life first business, and get yourself in position to catapult next year. Essentially, we look at it like, you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint for growth. And this is essentially what we're doing here is we're getting really clear about the way in which you want to grow and how you want to show up as a leader in the business that you are building. So often we bring that sort of past version of ourselves into the future plans. And essentially, if you want to build and scale a multi-million-dollar business or a business that just doesn't require all of your time, energy, effort, you have to start to think differently. And you have to really work on becoming the woman who's capable of leading and supporting that business and a team of people who are A players and are capable of essentially running that business for you. So you can head over to klcconsultants.com/scale to submit your application. Please don't wait on this. We are filling up quickly. I would love to get a chance to do some really powerful, intimate, live group and one-on-one coaching with you. This will be the last opportunity to do that. If you're looking to work with me outside of our year-long business incubator, this will be the last opportunity to do that in this format. So please do not wait. Okay, now let's unpack these excuses that I'm talking about. Okay, so often I feel like we tend to circle back to like the same sort of few excuses around why we are not able to make an investment, to make a move, to make a decision, to unstuck ourselves basically from a place we're in. And a lot of times it happens when we're looking to hire people and we are overwhelmed with the to-dos. We're overwhelmed with the emotions around what that person or those employees will mean in our company and what that means for us as a service provider. Sometimes it's just the tactical pieces. I'm not really sure how to do XYZ. And the reality is we can figure it out. And I know something about you. If you listen to this podcast, you're a badass because you wouldn't be here if you weren't somebody who is ambitious and driven and dedicated to building a high growth life for yourself. And I imagine that you didn't get to where you are by knowing all of the answers. You had to figure them out along the way. And so I want to remind you through the course of this podcast that, hey, there are some sneaky little excuses that I hear you guys say all of the time. And I want you to pay attention to those. And I want you to show up and really conquer those. Like, don't let them get in the way of you taking the next empowered step in your life and business to get to where you want to go. The first excuse, I have no time. Okay. I cannot tell you how annoyed I get when I talk to somebody and they tell me how busy they are. When I'm like, listen, do you want to have a busy competition? Because girlfriend, like, there is nobody busier than me. We all think we're so busy, right? Here's the deal. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, and time, it's a very precious commodity, but it's not a matter of someone having more or someone having less or someone having more to do or not more to do, right? Or less to do. It's really all about prioritization. So if you're constantly finding yourself saying, I don't have the time, I can't possibly get that done, ask yourself, am I truly maximizing every hour that I have? Or am I letting procrastination or distractions rule? Remember, even the busiest entrepreneurs find time for things that align with their passion and vision. There is somebody out there in the world who has just as many things to do as you do, and they somehow figure out how to get them done with elegance and grace. So I think of a great example of Warren Buffett. I remember somebody told me a while back, they had heard that Warren Buffett only takes one meeting a day. That's it. That's all. And so he prepares for that one meeting. So imagine if you could only do one main thing, one area of focus a day, what would that be? I've also heard that he doesn't take any meetings outside of 24 hours in advance. So if someone wants to talk to him, I'm available tomorrow, and that's it. There's not planning ahead. And I think the idea behind that is that he can be prepared, and two, act in the moment on, if it's not an urgent priority, it's not something that he's going to worry about right now. And he has this rule, he calls it the 5-25 rule. And it's not only great as a strategy for investing, but also a very useful tool for maximizing productivity. The rule is really simple. Identify the 25 most important things on your to-do list, prioritize them, and then focus on the top 5 and ignore the rest. And we talk about this a lot when we, talk about the 80-20 principle. And the reality is that there are 20% of activities that are driving 80% of the rest, but we tend to dally in all of the things. A lot of times it's because we're micromanagers, we're perfectionists, we have all these other internal issues that are holding us back from actually allowing ourselves to prioritize on the things that we know we can move the needle on, and letting other people, delegating out or eliminating the things that are not driving the lion's share of results for you in your business and life. So we always share in our academy with our CEOs the top 3 priorities of a leader. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you. Number 1 is to create a world-class client experience. Number 2 is to think and plan. And number 3 is to build your team. Those should be your top 3 priorities if you lead and run a business. If you are a founder or an owner or CEO, these are the things that you should be doing. So ask yourself right now, right? What's on your to-do list for today? Anything outside of these 3 activities, a world-class client experience, thinking and planning, and building your team should not be on your to-do list as a CEO. So what do you want to prioritize? When I'm told I don't have time, what somebody is really saying to me is, I don't believe that spending my time on XYZ is going to bring more value than doing something else. Okay. So I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, as so many of these things, many of these excuses sort of lead to the same destination or endpoint, which is basically the fact that either I don't trust myself to capitalize on the time that I'm spending to do what I think should be done to drive results, right? I don't believe that I'm able to do that, or I don't know what is important. And there's a lot of layers in between that. But ultimately, if you're telling yourself, I don't have the time for something, I really want to challenge you to step back and think about where your focus is and if you're truly prioritizing the things that matter. Okay. Excuse number 2 is I can't afford it. Now, financial constraints can be very real at times, right? But I want to challenge you to shift your mindset from I can't afford it, that's not for me, to open yourself up to this kind of thinking where you start to seek out solutions and innovations, maybe even new revenue streams, to ask yourself, how can I afford it? What can I do to be able to afford this as part of my plan? So, for example, if it's hiring an employee, right? An employee is an investment to create traction in your business, to create leverage, to build profit. That is the point of an employee. If it's an investment in your personal development, what is the value of this investment? If I learn these skills, if I apply myself, if I become the woman who is capable of leading a multi-million-dollar empire, what is the difference between where I am now and where I will be? Start to think of what an investment will do for you from a value standpoint, from an outcome standpoint, versus what an expense is. Okay. And I have to remind you that if you are a business owner, you have signed up, you have raised your hand to say, I am going to have to invest in myself and my business as a leap of faith. And when I do that, it can yield immeasurable returns for me. But not every single move you make, and probably not the ones that are actually meaningful for your business, are going to be just no-brainers, absolute hell yeses right away. Sometimes it's going to feel a little bit scary. It's going to feel fearful. It's going to feel like I'm pushing myself to the edge. But think about how you started your business. That was a huge leap of faith. How scary was that? Can you imagine that person, that woman 5 years before you started your business? She probably never would have thought that you would be able to do that. She never would have thought she would have pulled it off and been there, but you did. Moving on to excuse number 3, when XYZ happens, then I'll be ready. So this is my favorite one. Waiting for the perfect moment, right? So like once I get all these things in order and I have more time, then I'm going to come and work with you. Okay, you guys, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. There is no perfect moment. You create moments in your life. There will always be a new hurdle. There will always be a new challenge. If you are continually waiting for something external to change before you take action, you are relinquishing control. You are saying that activity or that situation has control over me. Again, another reason to invest in your leadership and growth so you can see how you can take accountability and take control over a situation. It's not about waiting, right? How many of you have said this, right? How many times do we say that? Like, oh, next week, or even, oh my gosh, going Instagram live, right? Like, oh, I don't have all my makeup on, so I'm going to just do it next week. I do this when I record my podcast. I just am like, I have to look like I look, right? Because if I wait until I feel perfect, I never will, and it will never get done. And so the whole point is push yourself out of your comfort zone to get a messy draft out, or to do something that you're not quite totally ready to do, or to do it while you're in the midst of chaos, to put that wedge in and stop the hamster wheel of chaos once and for all. You can't work your way out of overwhelm. So if you're waiting for things to settle down, it's not going to happen. And I know this is hard for a lot of us to hear because we keep waiting. But has that worked, right? Next week, next month, next year. I have women who now 2 years later, they're calling me like, well, I probably should have done this 2 years ago, you guys. Stuck in the same trap, the same habit loops, dealing with the same issues again and again and again, years later. The only way to get out of a cycle of indecision, lack of time, or lack of financial ability to invest into yourself is to do the thing and change the outcome. Okay. And finally, excuse number 4, I need to ask my partner. So this, I'm going to probably get a few tomatoes on. I actually recorded a podcast about this. I'm going to have to dig it up and put it in the show notes, but it's something to the effect of like how to talk to your husband about a financial investment. So this could be your life partner. This could be your business partner, right? So a lot of times what we're doing, of course, while it's essential to have open communication with your partner, especially on significant decisions, I think we often as female entrepreneurs forget that we are the decision maker, right? And it is our job to do our research, decide what's going to be best for us, and then elegantly and magnetically and charismatically, however we need to do it, enroll the people around us into the decision we make. Is this not what we do every single day with our patients, with our team, with our reps, with our partners, with everybody that's around us, right? So if we're constantly trying to pass the decision off to somebody else, again, relinquishing our power to someone else, relying on someone else to validate our choices. And so if you find yourself saying this on a regular basis, like this is your out, it might be time to ask yourself why, and to take an opportunity to stand in your power, to make a decision, and then find a way to get the people that you need who should support you, right, enrolled in that process. Okay. Here's the thing. Excuses so often are just fear in disguise. And probably if you unpacked all the layers of those excuses, you would know this and you would see this. And a lot of times it's just asking ourselves, do I trust myself to capitalize on the time spent or the investment spent or the opportunity cost? For example, one major inflection point that we work with women through is transitioning out of being the primary service provider in their business and into the CEO role. That means working less hours in the business and more hours on the business. Can you imagine what kind of impact that has on patients? Can you imagine what kind of impact that has on team? Can you imagine what kind of impact that has on the woman, on the person as a service provider who is so programmed to derive their sense of fulfillment through the relationships that they have every single day with their clients, right? And so it's going to take a whole different mindset, a whole different approach to deciding that those hours that I spend with my patients while they directly produce revenue, while they fulfill me, are not directly contributing to the bigger picture of what I want to build if I want to scale this business. If this business needs a CEO, it needs a CEO to become the ambassador of the brand, to be the custodian of its needs, to provide it the infrastructure, the systems, the support, the processes, the team, the foundation to be able to grow and sustain growth without this provider, right? And ultimately, if you want your business to be worth something someday, to become sellable, that system should run independent of you. Not to say you can't inject yourself into the system or still see patients. I'm not advocating that you have to completely pull yourself out, but I'm saying that if you're telling me, Kaylee, I want to scale my business, but I have no time. Kaylee, I want to scale my business, but I'm going to wait until I hire these 3 people and then I'll work on the scale strategy. Or I'll wait until this next season, right? Or I need to ask somebody if that's the right answer for me. Or I just can't afford it. You can't afford not to. You can't afford not to make the investment. You can't afford not to create the time and space. And I get how challenging it can be when you can directly see revenue coming from a patient when you treat them. But can you imagine if you took that time, that same hour, and invested it into training a team member or multiple team members to be able to do what you do at the capacity that you do it? You could triple your productivity. But what happens is we're so used to being in that I make money rut that we don't value that time in training and building the team and building the infrastructure and building the systems and learning how to be a leader of that brand as the same as making a transaction. So I know we know this logically, but my point is that there are a lot of surface level excuses that we're telling ourselves that are holding us back from truly getting to where we want to go. That is why I built Confidence to Scale. That is why this program has been best in class in this industry for the past 2 years since we've had it running. That is why we have women converting into our year-long business academy and making 5 and 6 figure plus investments into building this entire ecosystem around them that is becoming its own asset that they can sell, that can become a cash cow for them, that fulfills them, that makes tremendous impact in the world. And you can have that too. That is possible. That is absolutely possible on the other side of these excuses. Okay? As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Every time you catch yourself making an excuse, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this genuinely a limitation or is it a self-imposed barrier? Who is holding a gun to my head, making this the truth? Okay. And if you need that push, you know where to find your tribe. We're here. Okay. Sign up for Confidence to Scale. All right. Or if you're not sure, you can send me a DM. You can reply to an email. You know how to get a hold of us, but don't do it alone. Get the help you need and help you get over these excuses. Okay. Until next time, leader, stay fierce and unapologetically powerful. And I will see you next Monday. Take care. Listen, leader, if you're vibing with me here, hang tight because I have a brand new resource for you. You are a successful, confident, powerful woman who just isn't into being average. No, you have a calling, and part of that calling is requiring you to level up. And I know that if you're working across the next $1 million milestone in your business, you need to be in the right circles. And perhaps that's why you found us. I'd love to invite you to join The Blueprint, a weekly resource for inspired, provocative thinkers who are taking this conversation to the next level. Get access to free business tools, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me and my expert team. And of course, a masterfully curated circle of women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to klcconsultants.com/blueprint. It's time to elevate. See you there, goddess.